I was diagnosed with Sjogren's about almost 25 years ago now. I had, it really all started with joint pain, which seems kind of strange for Sjogren's because that's not the main thing that people complain about. But over time, the dryness in my eyes and mouth was kind of annoying. I'd have to drink more, use some eye drops, that sort of thing. Kind of went along at that level for quite a long time until I'd say 7 or 8 years ago. And suddenly everything got worse. The dryness was really becoming severe. In my mouth, it affected my speech sometimes. Certainly just a lot more coughing. And with my eyes, it was really affecting my work. It's taken a long time to take care of all the problems and become more proactive in, in seeing that they don't become worse. So now I take more prescription meds for both of these conditions. And along the way, with this increase with the eye drops and the mouth problems, more fatigue. One of the problems I do have fairly often is brain fog. I just call it a poor concentration, but once I heard that phrase, I thought, yeah, that's it. There are times that I can sit in a conversation or in a meeting, and I know, individually, I know every word that's being said. Collectively, I couldn't tell you the meaning of what's passing in front of me. As a hobby, I enjoy some needlework. I'm not fancy at it. I haven't been doing it for very long, but I found it to be fun and challenging. There are times when I'm working on a project of that kind, I get to a point where I can't continue. It's too complex all of a sudden, even though it's something I've been doing for quite a while. It just suddenly becomes more than I can handle, and I have to put it aside. It's very frustrating. Another thing that is probably more difficult for me, or certainly more prevalent for me, is anxiety. I get myself into situations which in the past have been normal situations for me. It could be a meeting, it could be joining people for an activity, going to a party, working on a project, or talking to a group. Things that in the past have been just part of my normal life, and suddenly I find myself really kind of all tensed up with anxiety, as if I don't know how to do this, or that I'm going to do something terribly wrong, or make some horrific faux pas, or not understand the concept that's being discussed. I think the hardest thing for me through that whole thing was to finally go to the doctor and say, this is a problem for me, and I think I need some medication to help me deal with it. And for a while I wasn't sure if that was really doing the job, but it seemed to be what took the edge off for me. And a few months later, I feel a lot better, and the anxiety has really largely resolved itself in terms of how it really keeps me from functioning day to day. Well, the first patient conference that I went to, first of all, it was just amazing to me that there were 250 people together in one room that had this condition and were figuring out how to deal with it. And I learned how many different people there were, how it affected them in quite different ways. I think that was probably the most valuable information that I gained at that point. There's so many times that I have questions that either I'm not sure my doctor could answer, and certainly I wouldn't take the time to make a special appointment to go to the doctor to ask them the question. And so those are the kinds of questions that can be answered for me, or at least get some supporting information from others. Things like, what over-the-counter products do you use that are useful? Do you like this? Where do you get that? What doctors are good in this area or that? For anybody who's newly diagnosed with Sjogren's, the main thing they can do is look for as much information as possible and be open to learning new things and learning from other people. I would say don't hesitate to ask questions as much as you can.
It can be difficult to ask for help with the emotional effects of chronic illness, especially if you're experiencing feelings of depression and anxiety that are new to you. But there are treatments and medications that can help. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor.